Welcome to Carolina News Now. I am Chandler Morgan. We are glad you're spending some time on your Friday with us. Maybe you're watching on your phone right now. Wherever you're watching from, we're glad you're here with us to catch you up on some of the big stories that are happening across the Carolinas. Some of our top stories we've got for you today. I know that everybody's probably gotten those robocalls. Well, now we're learning that those robocalls are coming in text message form and they're scamming you. That's our top story in just a bit. But first, want to give you a little rundown of what you're going to see today on Carolina News Now. So what we do here is we get together with 6 grade television stations across the Carolinas in both North and South Carolina, and we bring you the big stories that matter to you in your area. But a big story, of course, on Friday is that weekend weather. A lot of you have been seeing that rain throughout the week. So is that going to continue? We're going to have any issues with Friday night football games? Let's get a check of our weather from First Alert meteorologist Jason Myers.
Hi, I'm WBTV meteorologist Jason Myers for your Carolina News Network forecast. As we continue throughout your Friday, we will see some more off and on rain showers. So whether you're in the Piedmont, the coast, or the mountains, expect to need some rain gear at times. Could see some heavy rain at times as well. We're looking at mid-70s on average, more across the Piedmont. For the mountains, a little cooler, temperatures in the mid-60s. Also a higher risk for seeing some flash flooding across parts of the foothills and the mountains. For our coastal areas, rip current risk will stay high. Off and on rain showers as well, with temperatures on average in the upper 70s. As far as rain chances, they stay high as we continue throughout our Friday, but they'll begin to decrease into the weekend. May wake up to some rain showers early Saturday, but we expect to see at least more clearing throughout the afternoon hours. For the mountains and the Piedmont, still may see a few more lingering showers for the coast, and then into the Sunday afternoon time frame and early next week we start to see drier conditions. Here's a look at your hour-by-hour forecast. We start things off as we continue throughout our 5 o'clock hour of Friday with scattered activity here from Wilmington to Charlotte, over toward Asheville and Boone, over toward Charleston. May even see a few spottier showers. As we continue later into the evening hours, rain at times from the coast to the Piedmont to the mountains, and as we go overnight into early Saturday, we're going to see more scattered showers to wake up to again here for earlier in the day. As we go into our afternoon hours of Saturday, notice not as much activity for the Piedmont, with a few lingering showers more toward the mountains. However, more toward the coast, could see some heavy rain at times from Wilmington over toward the Outer Banks and even over toward portions of Raleigh. Looking at areas offshore here of the Carolinas, there is a system that could develop or take on more tropical characteristics. We'll be keeping a close watch on that as we continue throughout the weekend. Right now, it's a low chance, but something we'll be watching. As far as your mountain to coast forecast, mid-60s to near 70 degrees into the weekend for Boone. Asheville seeing temperatures warming back into the mid-70s by Sunday, and then into the Charlotte metro area, the Piedmont, mid to upper 70s, and then for our coastal areas from Wilmington to Charleston, you'll see temperatures anywhere from the upper 70s to lower 80s on average. As we continue throughout your weekend, again, just have some rain gear if you are going to be out and about.
Jason, thank you. We start our coverage in North Carolina. I mentioned those pesky robocalls. Well, now we're learning in Wilmington, one of our investigative reporters is learning that these are now coming in the form of text messages, and they're becoming easier to fall for because they're using your name in that text message. Our investigative reporter Ann McAdams reports from Wilmington.
When the person texting you knows your name or says they are your wireless provider trying to reach you, it can seem believable.
I have AT&T for my cell phone, and all the texts I get say, hey, AT&T customer, value customer this, or AT&T, your bill is due. So they seem to be targeted and know based on my phone number, I guess, that I'm a customer of theirs, and kind of give them a one-up on, hey, maybe he'll actually click on this and fall for this scam.
Wilmington resident Nick Craig hasn't fallen for one of these text scams, but the reality is plenty of people have.
I lost $3,500.
Instead of the trusted source you thought you were communicating with, the person on the other end of that text could be a fraudster. The FTC says complaints about text scams doubled in 2020 to more than 334,000. Americans who fell for these schemes lost $86 million last year.
People lose their entire life savings. We've had many tragic stories of people who got hooked by these calls or texts.
The texts often look legitimate, and the websites they link you to often look real too. Even if you don't give out your personal information, just clicking on the link in one of these scam texts can cause you problems.
I've clicked on them and looked at them. The one thing it's interesting to note with them, it seems like if you ever click on one, they tag your phone number and start sending you more. So I made that mistake once trying to say, hey, how good of a scam is this? And now I get flooded with them literally every single day.
Complaints about robocalls and texts are the #1 issue North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein hears about from the public. He says if the scammers get your money, it's probably gone forever. That's why it's essential to protect yourself on the front end.
Never click on a link that comes from a text that you don't know who is sending it. If you think it might be someone you know, don't respond, pick up the phone and use it to call them and ask them, did you send me a text?
Bottom line, don't respond until you are sure who you are texting. Some will try to trick you by inviting you to text the word stop to opt out of future messages, but even doing that lets a fraudster know they've reached a working number. Reporting for Carolina News Now, I'm Ann McAdams, WECT News, Wilmington.
We are going to stay in North Carolina now, going over closer to eastern North Carolina in Greenville, where we are learning that a teacher has stepped down and resigned after reportedly making racially insensitive comments to black students in the classroom. Justin Lundy is learning more about what happened and the decision to step down.
Parents I spoke with whose children were inside an 8th grade classroom where a racially insensitive lesson took place tell me though the teacher may be gone, they still want meaningful change.
She had them raise their hand during a Constitution lesson and reminded them that if it wasn't for the Constitution, they would still be her slaves, her field slaves.
Kanisha Tillman and McKay Benjamin say their children were in an 8th grade classroom at Winterville Charter Academy, and late last month, that was the lesson on Constitution Day. Tillman says both the teacher and some white classmates then used the N-word.
And then call him a and then the teacher responded by saying when the black student tried to address it and asked her to address it, she said that, well, it's okay because we're all a little bit racist.
School leaders initially sent out a memo to parents of that classroom on September 24th. It said they investigated the incident and the teacher involved resigned. After outrage began to spread on social media that the teacher wasn't fired, Principal Anastasia Ryan sent out the following memo on October 5th to the whole school, reading in part, "As soon as we were made aware of each incident, we immediately took action. The result was a teacher resignation and the children involved being disciplined in accordance with our parent and student handbook. These situations concern us too. Our school culture is built on one of acceptance, love, and respect to serve all children and their families." Benjamin planned to remove her child from the school, but changed her mind this week. And why aren't you taking your kids out of the school?
Instead of us just removing our kids and letting them get away with it and not actually holding them accountable for what's going on, we should stay at the school and fight and get them to address the situation.
Winterville Charter Academy has not revealed the name of the teacher involved, but parents are demanding new policies to prevent situations like this from occurring again.
I would like for them to have training on cultural fluency, on implicit bias, on racism, and I would like the students to have training. Like, it doesn't make sense why we got a school-wide email about TikTok challenges in the soap dispensers, but we didn't get a school-wide email discouraging more racist remarks coming to the school.
In a September 24th memo, the school stated that the teacher who resigned will take cultural sensitivity training, and other teachers that end up working at the school will do the same. For Carolina News Now, I'm Justin Lundy for WITN News in Greenville, North Carolina.
To Charlotte now, where we are learning that some local high school athletes were benched from their sport after protesting alleged sexual assaults. Our Brandon Hamilton is learning, of course, that protest was over the handling of those sexual assault allegations. And now what's next for the students?
Serenity Simpson was a member of Olympic High School's volleyball team for 3 seasons. That was until a protest she organized last Friday in front of the school. She says the protest was over the handling of sexual assault allegations on campus and across CMS. Monday, she says her female coach handed out punishments to those involved in last Friday's protest.
She said that, again, she was disappointed and that we had no right to interrupt a school day. and that it was a safety concern.
Simpson says several volleyball players were suspended from Tuesday night's game. Instead of facing punishment, Simpson tells WBTV she decided to quit the team.
Once she said get on the baseline, I went up to her and I said I will not be punished for protesting, and handed in my jerseys.
Simpson gave us this email from Principal Casey Jones that says in part, quote, students who walk out of class or leave school unauthorized can be disciplined in alignment with the CMS Code of Conduct. A CMS spokesman didn't answer questions about why the players were suspended.
If the protest was a safety concern, I definitely think having people on your campus that sexually assault other females would be a bigger safety concern.
As students continue to use their voice, Mom Camilla Simpson says she supports her daughter and is calling out the district to respond.
We would like to hear from this superintendent, Ernest Winston. We would like to see how he feels about the situation.
Reporting for Carolina News Now, I'm Brandon Hamilton, WBTV, Charlotte.
Let's go now to South Carolina, where we are learning that a process is happening right now to make sure that your vote matters just as much as everybody else's. We're talking about redistricting. It happens about every 10 years or so. And we're learning from our Adam Mincer about how those maps are changing.
So this is a look at the South Carolina Congressional Map since the 70s. Now, as our population changes, we see a shift in our congressional maps, the size of the districts, where they're located, even in some instances, new districts forming, like the 7th Congressional District that formed the last time we had one of these new census cycles. And get this, if you lived in Myrtle Beach or Beaufort, well, compared to what we had in the 70s, and now you're in a completely different district. In fact, for Myrtle Beach, a district that didn't even exist before. So what changes are we expecting this time around? Well, we've been seeing a lot of population growth according to the census down here on the cities along the coast and up here in the Rock Hill, Charlotte area.
Districts have to have equal population. I mean, that's the first thing you look at in drawing a district is can we get a congressional district to within, the courts would draw it in plus or minus one body. Do that, you have to go into other places where there's population if you're low, or you have to shed population.
Now, one thing that makes South Carolina different from other states, South Carolina doesn't have any rules about redistricting written into our state's constitution. But the redistricting chairman for the South Carolina House, Jay Jordan, says that doesn't mean there are no rules.
Folks come and say there's no law regarding redistricting. Well, no, there's a lot of law regarding redistricting. It's not put in the form of state statute. We certainly have, as you may have seen, the committee adopted the guidelines. The first principle is federal law, state law, and so forth from there. So there's a lot of law, case law, precedent that's been established over the years regarding this. It's just not necessarily put in the form of a statute.
So what comes next? The public hearing phase is all over. So now it's drawing time. Each chamber is going to take it onto themselves to draw the maps for their own chamber. Then they'll come together and work on the congressional maps. Reporting for Carolina News Now, Adam Mincer, WIS News 10 in Columbia.
Adam, thank you. Let's go to Lumberton now, where we're learning that a multi-million-dollar upgrade is coming to one of our country's busiest interstates. So we're learning here that this is actually expected to have a huge economic impact in our area. Cameron Crowe reports.
Major upgrades are coming to the stretch of I-95 that passes through Robeson County. This means more jobs are on the way, but more importantly, it'll create safer travels for the thousands of people who drive this road every year.
Due to Matthew and Florence hurricanes, we had tremendous disruptions on I-95 from both of those storms. Portions of 95 was directly closed.
2 years ago, the North Carolina Department of Transportation secured more than $22 million in grants to improve infrastructure after historic flooding caused major issues along the Robeson County stretch of I-95. Now, officials say more than $430 million are on the way to widen the interstate between exits 13 and 21. The project will also upgrade interchanges and raise bridges to prevent future flooding from the Lumber River.
And so this is exit 17.
Robeson County Economic Development Director Channing Jones says his office is already working with Robeson Community College to get people trained for the hundreds of jobs the project will create.
For the future development of 95, it creates just an amazing opportunity for economic activity throughout Robeson County, and so we're excited about the project.
The project will expand the interstate to 8 lanes. Jones tells me this will allow them to keep I-95 open the next time a storm strikes. He says the new interchanges and bridges will also be stronger and safer for people traveling through the area. In the meantime, you'll see crews working on improving the road.
I think temporarily, I think it's good to tell our communities that through the next several years that there's going to be some construction activity, so please be aware of that. But in the long term, I think it's going to make travel up and down the Interstate 95 much more safer, and so I think it's going to be a tremendous benefit for our local community.
The project is expected to be completed by the summer of 2026. Another contract will be awarded next year to extend the project from mile marker 23 in Robeson County all the way through Cumberland County. Reporting for Carolina News Now, I'm Cameron Crowe, WMBF News, Lumberton.
Okay, so get this. The Palmetto State experienced 3 earthquakes in a matter of hours this week. So that's led officials to take a closer look at the seismic activity going on across South Carolina. This is really interesting. Michael Higdon actually spoke with emergency officials about the research they're doing.
Officials at the South Carolina Emergency Management Division are closely monitoring our state's seismic activity. Last week, we experienced 3 earthquakes in just a matter of hours in the Summerville and Ladson area, and I spoke with officials about what this activity means to them. I spoke with Derek Becker with the state's Emergency Management Division, who says the last time we had 3 earthquakes in about 7 hours was back in 2003. And while he says it's a little unusual to get 3 in a row, it just proves how seismically active South Carolina is.
Where these earthquakes occurred is centered sort of near where the largest earthquake ever recorded on the eastern seaboard occurred, and that was back in August of 1886.
On August 31st, 1886, a magnitude 7.3 earthquake hit Charleston. The initial shock lasted nearly 1 minute. It was felt over 2.5 million square miles from Chicago to Cuba.
You felt a 3.2. Imagine an earthquake that is exponentially greater than that. That's what we experienced in 1886, and that's why we're very cautious when we talk about earthquakes.
SCEMD did a study and looked at what would happen if we got an earthquake of a similar magnitude of what we got in 1886.
Estimated 45,000 casualties, 900 fatalities, $25 billion in economic impact. The entire region would be affected, not just South Carolina.
South Carolina normally experiences 10 to 20 earthquakes a year, about 2 or 3 of which we can actually feel. The College of Charleston has been putting in more seismometers, so we are getting a better idea of just how seismically active the Palmetto State is.
We know that some people might be concerned seeing 3 right in a row. Is it building up to something major? Well, unfortunately, we won't know until we get a major earthquake, and then we could say definitively, yes, those were building up to, those were actually foreshocks. But if we don't experience a major earthquake but after this or within the near future, it's just normal background seismicity.
Officials tell me they are still monitoring if the 3 earthquakes we experienced were just the earth releasing pressure or building towards something greater. We won't know if it was building, though, for another 6 months to a year or maybe even longer. For Carolina News Now, I'm Michael Higdon for Live 5 News in Charleston.
All right, let's send things back over to meteorologist Jason Myers for a quick check of your weather. We know that it is Friday, so you are probably getting prepared to enjoy the weekend. We want to make sure that the weather is going to be in your favor or that you can plan in case we're going to see some rain or anything else. So let's send things over to meteorologist Jason Myers.
Hi, I'm WBTV meteorologist Jason Myers for your Carolina News Network weather update. As we continue throughout your afternoon, looks like you'll need to have some more rain gear with more off-and-on showers anywhere from the Piedmont to the mountains and even to the coast. Across the Charlotte metro area and around the Piedmont, temperatures more into the mid-70s with off-and-on rain showers. More for the mountains, mid-60s. So a little cooler, but still Off and on showers, the higher risk for maybe seeing some flash flooding across the mountain communities. And for the beaches, also still unsettled weather. More off and on showers, even the possibility for some storms and a higher risk for rip currents. Maybe not the best day to be out on the beaches. As we continue here into our weekend, we start to see drier conditions. May start off with some showers earlier in the day on Saturday, and then starting to see more drier conditions Saturday afternoon and as we go into our daytime hours on Sunday. So this is a look at your hour-by-hour forecast from our Friday afternoon into our evening hours. Off and on showers are possible all across the Carolinas. As we go into early Saturday, we're waking up to cloudy skies, a few showers around. As we head into the afternoon, the bulk of the rain decreases from the Piedmont into the mountains. Even could see a few spotty showers lingering for the mountains, but take a look at the coast from Wilmington to more of the Outer Banks. Could see some heavier rain continuing into Saturday afternoon, but overall clearing skies more toward Charleston and Columbia. As we look at your tropical weather outlook, we could see some tropical development here offshore the Carolinas as we continue into the weekend, but right now that's just a low chance. So looking at your mountain to coast forecast, temperatures staying mild for our mountain communities, mainly in the 60s to near 70 for Boone. As we continue through the weekend, temperatures go from the upper 60s to the mid 70s around Asheville throughout your weekend. Across the Piedmont, temperatures will be in the mid to upper 70s. On average, it will be nicer toward the end of the weekend, and the temperatures look to remain about the same with upper 70s to near 80 degrees around Charleston to Wilmington. Overall, not seeing as much as far as rain showers as we get later into your weekend. Your 7-day forecast for Friday afternoon, mid 70s. We're looking at mid to upper 70s continuing into Saturday. Upper 70s to near 80 degrees on Sunday. On Sunday at the Charlotte Motor Speedways, the Bank of America Roval 400 should be overall improving conditions there at the racetrack. Drier as we go into next week with temperatures back into the 80s.
All right, thanks, Jason. Thanks so much for watching here with us. Don't forget, we're going to be here every Friday streaming for you. You can watch us. The beauty of it is on your phone. You can watch us on the streaming apps, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV. We're helping you get ready for the weekend and catching you up on the big stories in your area. Remember, we'll be taking you across different areas of North and South Carolina. That's places like Charleston. Of course, we're going to check in with Myrtle Beach. We'll go across a lot of different areas and bring you those stories to get you caught up on the news that matters to you. Thanks for joining us here at Carolina News Now. I'm Chandler Morgan.